Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. This is Monday night. We do our snap counts for the recent week that we just witnessed here. That was week 6. Every Monday night, I go through the box scores and I look at snap counts and just try to figure out what are the most important trends and usage rates that we need to be looking at. I did want to point out on the fantasyfellowship.com, I did put a preliminary waiver wire report. I'm going to be tinkering that tomorrow morning. We'll do the live stream for the waiver wire report at the normal time, I think at 7 p.m. Central Time here. So stay tuned for that. For now, we're going to get into the box scores, and we're using Pro Football Reference here to look at this. And we'll start with the Thursday night game, the Eagles at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Or actually, this one was in Philadelphia, 22-28. Tampa Bay takes this one. We're going to start with the snap counts first. An interesting offensive snap count for Tampa Bay. Mike Evans, I guess the way I do this is, of course, the linemen all played basically 100% of the snaps, Brady 100%. The top players here for Tampa Bay, Mike Evans getting 93% of the snaps, Chris Godwin getting 91%. I thought this was interesting. O.J. Howard actually passed Cameron Brate for the tight end snaps behind Rob Gronkowski. So 65% for O.J. Howard. Leonard Fournette saw 63 total percent. Cameron Brate down here at 59. Antonio Brown just remains to be ultra efficient with his snaps. Only 49% of the snaps here. Ronald Jones got more snaps here than Giovanni Bernard, which was interesting. 19% for Rojo, 16% for Gio Bernard. So the pecking order remains Evans, Godwin, Antonio Brown. And then the backup tight end duties looks to be like O.J. Howard has cleared Cameron Brate, and then Leonard Fournette just hogging all of the running back targets. We'll look at the box scores in just a second here. On the Philadelphia side, Devonta Smith led the way, 98%. Zach Ertz, it is Zach Ertz's last game as a Philadelphia Eagle. He did garner 88% of the snaps. That's going to be Dallas Goedert's role going forward. So we know that it's going to be Goedert, and then the backup tight end Jack Stoll here. So Goedert's going to be stepping into some elite tight end snap usage here. So if you continue to hold on to him, it looks like you got a top 5, top 10 tight end going forward. So congrats on that. I guess both guys, Ertz and Goedert, are going to be useful in their own roles. Jalen Reagor logged the second most wide receiver snaps at 83%. Miles Sanders up here at 83%. This one was interesting because we've been into Kenneth Gainwell lately, but it looks like Sanders has separated himself and just said, this is still my job. I'm still going to get the most touches and the snaps. Quez Watkins actually played better than Jalen Reagor. He got 77% snaps as the number 3 receiver. There's Kenny G with 23%, Greg Ward, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Nothing of note here. So the pecking order remains Devonta Smith and then the tight end. That's going to be Goedert. So those are the 2 useful options here. And as long as Sanders is hitting 80% of the snaps, I'm interested. So let's take a look at the stats and see what we can take away from these numbers. On the Philly side, Jalen Hurts, he's going to struggle as a passer. We knew this. He was 12 of 26, 115 yards, 1 TD, 1 INT. That's not why we have Hurts for fantasy. It's the rushing. He goes 10 for 44 in 2 TDs. If he can get a little bit improved in the passing numbers, we're going to see some elite numbers. But until then, Hurts is a boom-bust option right now. He's getting the rushing upside, so that saves the day, but I'd like to see some improvement in the passing numbers. Miles Sanders, the only running back to get carries in this one, 9 for 56, so actually a pretty productive day on the ground against a good run defense, and then 2 for 10 as a receiver. Quez Watkins, 3 for 44. Devonta Smith, 2 for 31. This is a floor game for Devonta Smith, not the best output from Jalen Hurts as a passer anyways here. And then Zach Ertz led the way in targets, 4 for 29, and he gets the touchdown. Kenny Gainwell, just an afterthought here. Jalen Reagor, 3 targets, no catches. So pretty frustrating output from the Eagles side here. I guess if you started Zach Ertz, you did fine. If you started Smith, you were left pretty lonely there. And then Sanders, again, 56 rushing yards, and then you add 3 points from the PPR day. That's 8.6. That's kind of his floor. He's an 8 to 9 point running back. He's kind of in the tier with me for Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, about those 8 to 10 PPR points. On the Tampa Bay side, Tom Brady continues to just get things done. 297 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 1 yard on the ground here. Leonard Fournette, though, this was the main development. Leonard Fournette, 22 carries, 81 yards, 2 TDs, catches all 6 of his targets for 46 yards. He's a running back 1 at the moment right now going forward. He's a top 10, top 12 running back. He's a must start going forward. Ronald Jones continues to be the next man up behind Leonard Fournette. 5 for 20, 1 catch, 9 yards. He's looking good. If anything happens to Fournette, that's where we're going to be interested in Rojo. But for now, we can't really trust Rojo more than just a handcuff option. Antonio Brown led the team in targets this week with 13. He caught 9 for 93 and the touchdown. O.J. Howard, 7 targets, 6 for 49 and a touchdown. Godwin catches all 5 of his targets for 43 yards. Evans was the odd man out in this one, 4 targets, 2 for 27. I think if you're rostering Evans, you got to hold on to him. This is what it is. It's going to be every week one of these Tampa Bay receivers is going to have a lame game, and this week it was Evans. Cameron Brate, 3 for 26, Gio Bernard, 2 for 4. So the main takeaways, Fournette is a beast. Antonio Brown, Godwin, and Evans, you're going to continue to use those guys. And then we'll see. O.J. Howard gaining some steam. We'll see if Rob Gronkowski can make it back for week 7. Looking at the Panthers and the Vikings here real quick on this one. We'll start with the snap counts. On the Vikings side here, you see Kirk Cousins. 89 snaps. This should be a pretty good fantasy day here. And then you see Adam Thielen comes in number 2 at 98%. Justin Jefferson, 94%. You're starting those two guys every week. Tyler Conklin played 85% of the snaps. That's a pretty good number for tight end. He's back into our tight end 1 streaming options. Dalvin Cook first came back, 74%, no problem. And then KJ Osborne, that's really the only other player to note in this offense for fantasy, 54%. Herndon, backup tight end duties, 27%. Interesting. Madison back to his backup duties, 13%. For the Panthers, DJ Moore continues to be the main guy here, 92% of the snaps. Robbie Anderson gets 86%. With CMC out for a little bit here, Chuba Hubbard gets 65% of the snaps. Ian Thomas led the way for tight ends, but he's kind of split with Tommy Tremble here. 54% for Thomas, 51% for Tremble, and then really nothing to note here. I was actually surprised. Terrace Marshall Jr. got hopped by Brandon Zylstra, so I think we can cut Terrace Marshall in redraft leagues right now. Let's pull up the box score numbers here. For the Panthers, Sam Darnold, rough day, 17 of 41, 207 yards, 1 TD, 1 INT, but he did add 48 yards on the ground. He also lost a fumble, so really rough day for Sam Darnold. Chuba Hubbard, though, 16 carries, 61 yards, and the touchdown, catches 1 target for 4 yards. DJ Moore continues to lead the team in targets, 13 total targets on the day, but only 5 for 73. He also lost a fumble in this one. Ian Thomas, 1 for 41. Brandon Zylstra, 3 for 32. Shai Smith, 2 for 20. Alex Erickson, 1 for 17. And then Robbie Anderson, 11 targets, 3 catches, 11 yards, and the first touchdown, the second touchdown of the season for Robbie Anderson. I don't know. We probably need to shut Robbie Anderson down. I don't know if he's trustworthy. I know he catches the touchdown, but 3 receptions on 11 targets, not really feeling that. So for this offense, it remains DJ Moore must start and Chuba Hubbard as long as CMC is out, and then Sam Darnold, maybe a quarterback 2 for Superflex leagues. On the Viking side, Kirk Cousins had a volume day, 33 of 48. 373 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, add 16 yards on the ground. Dalvin Cook was a beast, 140 rushing yards, 1 TD, only 2 catches for 3 yards as a receiver. Madison, again, just backup duties for this one, but Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, 13 targets for Thielen, 14 for Justin Jefferson. Thielen catches 11 for 126 and the score. Jefferson goes 8 for 80. He did lose a fumble in this one, so this is a floor game for Justin Jefferson. KJ Osborne had himself a game. Catches 6 of 7 targets for 78 yards and the go-ahead score at the end of the game. Tyler Conklin, 3 for 71. He had a nice 40-yard catch and run. And then Westbrook, not interested. But Chris Herndon, 1 catch for a 2-yard touchdown. That's something to watch going forward. So overall, interesting game from both sides here. But with the Vikings on bye this week, we still know that it's Cook, Thielen, Jefferson. Those are the must-starts from that. And then maybe keep an eye on KJ Osborne, Tyler Conklin, and Alexander Madison for sure. And Kirk Cousins, man, he continues to play and put up some good quarterback 1 numbers. Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers. Packers take this one 24-14. Let's look at the snap counts in this one. For the Packers, you see Alan Lazard led the way with snaps, 85% for Devontae Adams as well. Mercedes Lewis, 68% to lead the tight ends, 63% for Robert Tonyan. Tunyan's droppable in all formats right now. He's just not worth a hold. I guess Dynasty is like the only thing that is worth holding on to him, but he's having a rough season so far. Aaron Jones, 59%. That's actually a low snap count for him, but they kind of ran the clock out with A.J. Dillon at the end. So 59% for Jones, 42% for Dillon, 39% for Randall Cobb. Josiah DeGuara got some snaps in there, 25%. And Equanimous St. Brown and Amari Rodgers got some snaps there at the end too. But for the Packers, it's clearly Adams, Aaron Jones. Those are the only usable pieces for the offense right now. A.J. Dillon is looking better though, and he's worth a stash. On the Bears side here, Darnell Mooney, 93%, Allen Robinson, 92%. With Damian Williams and David Montgomery out, you see Khalil Herbert, the rookie, get 89% of the snaps. Cole Kmet, 79% of the snaps. And then after that, we really don't need to pay any attention to these guys for fantasy, but Marquise Goodwin, Jimmy Graham, Damiere Byrd, Jesse James, kind of just a bunch of junk here. And then on the The box score side of things here, let me kind of just zoom in actually a little bit. Justin Fields goes 16 of 27, 174 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, also added 43 yards on the ground here. So a fine day from Justin Fields. He needs to start getting 2 touchdowns per game before we are interested in him for fantasy. Khalil Herbert had a nice day, 19 for 97 and a touchdown, also caught 2 for 15. So we're going to have to watch Damian Williams' status next week with the COVID issue going on right now. Allen Robinson, 7 targets, 4 for 53. Okay, looking better. We're interested. Cole Kmet, 4 for 49 on 5 targets, getting better. We'll take 8.9 points for a tight end is useful in PPR leagues. And then Darnell Mooney led the team in targets with 8, goes 5 for 45, and he gets the touchdown. So opening the door for our Bears here, whether that's A-Rob, Kmet, Darnell Mooney, these guys are worth a hold for now. No thanks to Goodwin or Damiere Byrd. And again, we got to watch and see what happens to Damian Williams next week during practice. On the Packers side of things, Aaron Rodgers just didn't really have to throw the ball that much. 17 of 23, 195, 2 touchdowns, adds 19 yards and a rushing touchdown there at the end of the game. Aaron Jones, 13 carries for 76 yards, catches 4 of his targets here for 34 yards and the touchdown. So just another good day for Aaron Jones. He's going to be in that 15 to 20 touch per game. And he's producing as a top 5, top 10 running back. So Aaron Jones, everything is good. AJ Dillon racked up 11 carries for 59 yards. No targets, no receptions in this one, which is interesting after saying they wanted to get him more involved. But it's nice to see him continue to hover around 10 touches per game. Devontae Adams, only 5 targets in this one, 4 for 89. Alan Lazard catches the touchdown, 3 for 27 for him. Mercedes Lewis, 2 for 17. Amari Rodgers gets 1 for 14. Tunyon, only 2 for 10. DeGuara, 1 for 4. So again, this offense remains Devontae, Aaron Jones, and then probably A.J. Dillon as that third best player here. But Rodgers just smooth sailing here. He collects 3 touchdowns, and that rushing touchdown at the end is the cherry on top. So good game between the two. Pretty low scoring, though. And we'll move on here to the Cardinals and the Browns. So this one was interesting. We saw a couple of injuries in this game. As far as the Cardinals go, again, this was backup duty for some of these guys here, but AJ Green gets 91% of the snaps. Murray only played 91%. Hopkins gets 89%, and Christian Kirk gets 85%. I think at this point, Green, Hopkins, and Kirk are worth using in 12-man leagues, especially Green and Christian Kirk. I know you're starting Hopkins, but as long as these guys are running this many snaps, Green and Kirk belong in your consideration. Rondale Moore is still worth holding on to. He's the 4th fiddle right now. But if anything happens to the 3 guys above him, he's going to be interesting. James Conner took over the running back field this week with 55% of the snaps. Chase Edmonds, 37%. This changes my view on Chase Edmonds. He's more of a flex play right now. James Conner's looking like the RB2 here for now. Darrell Daniels, Demetrius Harris. The tight ends we don't care about. We're going to see Zach Ertz in this offense next week. On the Browns side of things, Baker Mayfield only played 93% of the snaps. Donovan Peoples-Jones was the main guy here to get snaps, so 78% for him. Hooper, 75%. Kareem Hunt left the game, 69% of the snaps for him. Rashard Higgins with 63%. Odell Beckham, only 54%. He had a shoulder injury in this one. Anthony Schwartz, 44%. David Njoku, I'm not really interested in this Browns offense right now for fantasy. We know Kareem Hunt's going to be out for a little bit here. We'll see if Nick Chubb can play week 7 on Thursday Night Football. But I have a ton of questions. Let's actually go look at the box scores right now. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 4 for 101 and 2 touchdowns here, 5 targets. That was the second leading target man in the game here. 8 targets for Odell Beckham, 5 for 79. So maybe Odell is fine. I'm nervous about that shoulder with Baker Mayfield here. Nothing really else to note on here. Donovan Peoples-Jones, we'll talk about him on the waiver wire show tomorrow. But Kareem Hunt goes 14 for 66, 3 for 12 as a receiver. Baker Mayfield, 234, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 8 yards rushing. 2 lost fumbles. Again, we'll have to watch and see what he does for practice. And it sounds like he's going to play on Thursday Night Football at home against the Broncos, but you never know. Just a huge week of practice reports that we need to monitor for the Browns here. But for now, let's hope Nick Chubb plays, and maybe we'll see about Donovan Peoples-Jones or Odell Beckham. For the Cardinals, I think everything is a must start at this point, whether it's Murray, whether it's James Conner, whether it's Hopkins, Kirk, or AJ Green. You're trying to get these 5 guys in the lineup. Now, there might be interesting, change of plans when Zach Ertz comes onto the field. We'll see how efficient he is with his targets. That might be too many names to feed, but for now, Kyler Murray throws for 229 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 6 yards rushing. He fumbled 4 times. He didn't lose a fumble, but he did put the ball on the ground quite a bit. James Conner, 16 carries for 71 yards. Chase Edmonds only 4 for 46, and he catches 3 receptions for 4 total yards. Jonathan Ward got some carries. Rondale Moore goes 3 for 10 and adds 16 yards on 3 receptions. But here we go. The receivers, A.J. Green, 6 targets, 5 for 79 in the touchdown. Christian Kirk goes 5 for 75 in the touchdown. He led the way with 8 targets. DeAndre Hopkins, 3 for 55 and 2 touchdowns, only 4 targets here. So the Cardinals offense, it's rolling. They're going to play the Houston Texans this week. You're going to try and get everybody in that lineup if you can. Let's move on to the Houston Indianapolis Colts game. The Colts take this one 31-3. It was an absolute slobber knocker. Texans, I really don't care much about going over these lineups here, but Brandon Cooks, 91%, Chris Moore, 65%, Nico Collins, 57%. Those are the top 3 receivers on this team right now. Farrell Brown, 53% as the lead tight end. Ingram led the way for running backs at 44%. Chris Conley was the 4th best receiver. Jordan Akins, the number 2 tight end here at 43%. And David Johnson, RB number 2 at 43%. Philip Lindsay down here at 15%. So I really don't care about anything. We'll look at the box score in just a second. On the Colts side, Michael Pittman Jr. continues to play as the lead receiver, 96% for him. Zach Pascal logs 85%. Jack Doyle gets 65%. Jonathan Taylor, really good game. We'll look at the box score in a second, but 65% snaps for him. Mo Cox gets 50% as the tight end too. T.Y. Hilton he got hurt in this one, 50% of the snaps for him. Nyheim Hines is kind of an afterthought in this offense right now, 23% for him. And then Paris Campbell, only 5 snaps, 10% of those. But let's look at the numbers real quick. Carson Wentz only had to throw the ball 20 times. He went 11 of 20 for 223 and 2 touchdowns. And his main receiver in this one was T.Y. Hilton, who caught all 4 of his targets for 80 yards. Paris Campbell checked in real quick and got 1 for 51 in the score before getting hurt. Mo Cox had 3 targets, 1 for 28 in the touchdown. Michael Pittman Jr., rough day, only 2 for 35, 3 yards on the ground here. But with injuries to Hilton and Campbell, he should probably take more precedent next week. And then look at Jonathan Taylor, 14 for 145 and 2 touchdowns, 1 for 13 as a receiver, only 14 carries. We're talking 10 yards per carry here. He needs to get more touches. And again, Nyheim Hines, kind of an afterthought, only 4 for 13 as a rusher, 1 for 9 as a receiver. So pretty frustrating day, but I'm going to continue. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is a top 5 running back right now. And then let's hold on hope for Michael Pittman. Good to see T.Y. Hilton back, but again, he injured his quad. Brandon Cooks, man, like this is pretty much it. 13 targets, 9 for 89. Just continue to start Brandon Cooks. I don't even want to look at the other things here for the Texans. The Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Raiders moved to 4-2. 34-24 was the final here. Let's look at the Raiders snap counts real quick. So Darren Waller led the way, 82%. Brian Edwards gets 77%. He's been the leading snap guy for receivers all season. Henry Ruggs comes in at number 2, 66% of the snaps. Josh Jacobs, a high total for him. He gets 64% of the snaps here. And Hunter Renfrow is the clear number 3 at 57%. High number here for Foster Moreau, the backup tight end, 45%. Kenyan Drake, only 12 snaps for him, 21%, but we'll look at the box score in just a second. He had a really good game. On the Broncos side of things, Tim Patrick led the way, 89% for the receiver snaps. Noah Fant comes in tied at 89% of the snaps. You see Cortland Sutton up here at 88%. Kendall Hinton running a lot as the wide receiver 3 here with 63%. Melvin Gordon led the way for running backs, 53% to Javonte Williams, 47%. Nothing else really needs to be mentioned. So let's take a peek at the numbers for the Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater, huge volume game, 35 of 49, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also had 3 interceptions and lost a fumble in this one. Javonte Williams, 11 for 53. 3 for 15 as a receiver. Melvin Gordon, kind of the same thing. 10 for 50 yards rushing and 3 for 23 as a receiver. Javonte and Melvin are both really low-end running back 2s right now. They're going to get you 8 to 10 PPR points per game, kind of just locked into this 50-50 mess. And then Noah Fant, man, really good game out of him. 11 targets, 9 for 97 and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, 14 targets, 8 for 94 and a touchdown. And then Tim Patrick right here, 6 targets, 3 for 42 and the score. Not interested in Kendall Hinton, Saubert, or Mike Boone. Good news for the Broncos is Jerry Jeudy's coming back possibly for week 7. So we'll watch those updates. But really nice volume day for the Broncos passing game. It just did not convert into a win as 4 Teddy Bridgewater turnovers. And then on the Raiders side, really efficient day for the Raiders. Derek Carr, 18 of 27, 341, and 2 scores here. Josh Jacobs, 16 for 53 and the touchdown here. He catches 1 for 29. Kenyan Drake, 4 for 34 as a rusher with the touchdown, and then 2 for 39 and another score here. So this was an improbable game for Kenyan Drake. We're going to probably be seeing people ask, do I start Kenyan Drake next week? But it feels hard to trust. Henry Ruggs was a big player in this one. 4 targets, 3 for 97 and the score. Bryan Edwards, 4 targets, 2 for 67. Darren Waller, a typical Darren Waller floor game, 5 for 59. Hunter Renfrow was kind of the odd man out, and he loses his double-digit PPR streak, only 3 for 36 in this one. So interesting game. Kenyan Drake kind of came out of nowhere. We'll see if he gets more run going forward. But as of right now, Carr, Jacobs, Waller, and Hunter Renfrow and Henry Ruggs probably need to be considered in lineups. And again, I'm interested to see what happens when Jerry Jeudy takes the field, maybe week 7 on Thursday Night Football. Bengals and the Lions, 34-11 in this one. This was a shutout until the fourth quarter. The Bengals receivers leading the way. Ja'Marr Chase, 79%. You see CJ Uzomah with 69%. Tyler Boyd down here at 62% of the snaps. Joe Mixon gets 62%. A low number for T. Higgins, only 59 or 57% of the snaps. Backup tight end Drew Sample, 54%. Auden Tate, 33%. Nothing really to note here. As far as the Bengals go, Joe Burrow, fringe quarterback 1, Ja'Marr Chase, wide receiver 2, and then Joe Mixon, top 10 running back right now. Those are the 3 big pieces of this offense. T. Higgins kind of remains as a low-end wide receiver 3 right now, and Tyler Boyd's kind of losing our trust. For the Lions here, Khalif Raymond, 89% of the snaps. TJ Hawkinson gets 83%. Kadarrell Hodge comes in and gets 83%. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets 78%. DeAndre Swift dominating the touches here and the snaps over Jamal Williams. Swift gets 78% of the snaps. Jamal Williams, only 30% of the snaps. So nothing really to note here. Hawkinson and Swift remain the key pieces of this offense. On a day where Jared Goff goes 28 for 42, 202 yards, 1 INT. His leading target man was TJ Hawkinson, 11 total targets, 8 for 74. So a good TJ Hawkinson game gets us back into our good spirits here. DeAndre Swift gets 13 carries for only 24 yards, but he adds the rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter, 5 for 43 as a receiver. Jamal Williams, a complete non-factor, 4 for 11, 1 for -2 as a receiver. And then there's Khalif Raymond. 7 targets, 6 for 37. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 targets, 5 for 26. Tom Kennedy, Kadarrell Hodge, not interested. So as far as the Lions go, it remains Swift and Hawkinson. Nothing new here. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow comes in, goes 19 of 29, 271 for 3 touchdowns, adds 20 yards rushing here. Joe Mixon, 18 carries, 94 yards, and then 5 for 59 and a touchdown as a receiver. So nice big Joe Mixon game. Backup running back duties went to Chris Evans, 4 for 18. See 3 for 49 and a touchdown as a receiver. Even Travion Williams got into the fourth quarter fun here, 6 for 13 as a rusher. Ja'Marr Chase led the way, 6 targets, 4 for 97. T. Higgins, 6 targets, but only 3 for 44 as a receiver, so that's a floor game for Higgins. CJ Uzomah, 3 targets, 3 catches, 15 yards, and the score. Tyler Boyd, we're nervous. Tyler Boyd only 1 for 7 on today and 3 targets. Auden Tate gets a touchdown in the fourth quarter, 1 catch, 7 yards on the score there. Drew Sample, just a non-factor. So we're holding on to T. Higgins. T. Higgins, 7.4 PPR points. That's a floor game. He should get healthier and stronger next week against the Ravens. Tyler Boyd, though, probably can't trust him in our lineups going forward until we see some consistency and 3 receivers hitting in this offense. So the Bengals move to 4-2. Lions remaining as the last team to not have a win, as the Jacksonville Jaguars were able to beat the Dolphins and move to 1-5. So only the Lions are yet to win a game this season. The Jaguars in London, 23-20 over the Miami Dolphins. This was a fun game to start the day here. Let me hit the snap counts. Why can't I go see the snap counts? Where are the snap counts? They don't have the snap counts in for this game. I might have to skip this game. Oh, there we go. So the Dolphins. Nice to see Tua Tagovailoa back. Mac Hollins leads the way for receivers, 97%. Huge day out of Jalen Waddle, 93% of the snaps for him. Durham Smythe leads the way for tight ends, 83%. Mike Gesicki, though, he gets 70%. Malcolm Brown was the leading running back on the day with Myles Gaskin. Each got 36%. Albert Wilson, 33%. Salvin Ahmed, 27%. Whatever. Interesting day here, but Tua looked good. So did Jalen Waddle. So did Mike Gesicki. We'll look at the numbers in a second. For the Jags, Marvin Jones led the way, 86% of the snaps. James Robinson gets 85%. Laviska Shenault gets 79%. Dan Arnold, only 62%. And Jamal Agnew, pretty good game out of him, 59%. Chris Manhertz was there. Luke Farrell was there. Tavon Austin, but nothing really of note here. Let's take a peek at the numbers for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, probably one of his best days. He did not throw an interception. He did lose a fumble, but much improved as a passer in this one. 25 of 41, 319 yards and a score. He goes 2 for 11 on the ground, and he did lose a fumble in this one. James Robinson, man, they came out hot in the second half and just continued to run the ball with J-Rob. He goes 17 of 73 with a touchdown, catches 3 for 28 as a receiver. Marvin Jones, 10 targets, 7 for 101 touchdown. So a great day for Marvin Jones. Jamal Agnew, 6 targets, 5 for 78 as a receiver. So he's looking like a guy that we should probably take a peek at on the waiver wire system. Laviska Shenault gets 10 targets, but only 6 for 54 as a receiver. I still like Laviska. They actually found more ways to try to get him the ball. So we'll see if that volume can stay consistent. Dan Arnold, kind of a dud, only 5 targets. 2 for 27 here, and then really nothing else stuck out between these guys here. But good day for James Robinson, Marvin Jones, Agnew, and Shenault kind of hit the double digits for PPR, and then Trevor Lawrence, man, he's operating as a quarterback too for Superflex leagues. Tua Tagovailoa goes 33 of 47, 329 and 2 touchdowns. He did throw a bad interception, but adds 22 yards on the ground to erase that. Jacoby Brissett got in for one game. They called in a play action boot thing, and he hit a 25-yard pass to the tight end. The running game was just gone. It didn't even have a chance. Malcolm Brown, 5 for 24, 1 for 7 as a receiver. Salvin Ahmed, 7 for 22, 1 for 15 as a receiver. Frustrating day for Myles Gaskin, 5 for 9 yards and only 2 for 5 as a receiver here. So I'm kind of leaning we can't trust this Miami backfield. I know Gaskin blew up last week, but it's hard to trust. Mike Gesicki, great day for him, 9 targets, 8 for 115 as a weapon. Jalen Waddle leads the day with 13 targets, 10 for 70 yards, and 2 scores here, looking like the clear favorite by Tua there. He looks like he's back to wide receiver 3 flex status. Mac Hollins had a nice game, 4 for 61. Durham Smythe had a nice game as the backup tight end, 5 for 59. Again, Smythe actually runs more snaps than Gesicki. Albert Wilson, Sathan Carter, Hunter Long, Isaiah Ford, not really interested, but really fun game here. Both teams are 1-5, but both can provide an ample amount of fantasy points. For the Dolphins, it's Tua, maybe as a QB2 for Superflex leagues. Gesicki, a top 10 tight end. Waddle, a top 36 wide receiver right now. And then we'll see if Devontae Parker, Will Fuller can get back healthy. And then let's move on to Dallas and the New England Patriots. This game went into overtime. This was probably the best game of the afternoon slate. Let's click on the snap counts and see what we got. So snaps will be inflated because of the overtime, but Amari Cooper led the way, 88% of the snaps. CeeDee Lamb, 87%. Dalton Schultz up here at 84%. That's elite tight end numbers. Ezekiel Elliott up here at 71%. Blake Jarwin, still a very useful tight end number 2 here, 53%. Cedric Wilson, only 49%. Pollard, only 29%. For the Patriots, Jonnu Smith led the way for snaps this week, 72%. Hunter Henry gets 69%. Jacoby Myers down here at 63%. That's a low for him. Nelson Aguilar, only 59%. Damian Harris, good game for him on the ground, but only 48% of the snaps. Kendrick Bourne, 46%. Jacob Johnson, the fullback, got in there. N'Keal Harry got in there for 39%. And then Ramondre Stevenson gets in for 33%. Brandon Bolden might be dead for fantasy here. PPR leagues, only 20%. Take a peek at the numbers real quick. Mac Jones, 15 for 21, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. He also did lose a fumble. But Damian Harris, guys, he looked really good. 18 for 101 and the score. He catches 1 for 7 as a receiver. Ramondre Stevenson, 5 for 23 and a touchdown, goes 3 for 39 as a receiver. So kind of just overtaking Brandon Bolden here as the running back too. Nelson Aguilar, 1 catch for 27. Kendrick Bourne, 1 for 75 in the touchdown. That was the big one that put it into overtime. Jacoby Myers' floor game here, 5 for 44. He remains the preferred target for Mac Jones. Hunter Henry, only 2 for 25, but he gets the touchdown. Jonnu Smith, I don't even know if I want to hold on to him for redraft leagues, only 1 for 9 here. So the players that I like for the Patriots, Mac Jones is barely a quarterback 2 for Superflex leagues, but it's Harris, as a running back too, as long as he's healthy. I like it. Ramondre Stevenson, though, he should be picked up on waiver wires this week, and then you pretty much just get Jacoby Myers and Hunter Henry as the top two receiving weapons. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott threw it 51 times. He completed 36 passes, 445 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, and then he did lose 1 fumble. Ezekiel Elliott goes 17 for 69 as a rusher, 7 for 50 as a receiver. So nice volume day for him. Tony Pollard continues to rack up double-digit touches every week, 10 for 41 as a rusher, 3 for 22 as a receiver. CeeDee Lamb gets a 2-yard carry, but then he leads the way with 11 targets, 9 for 149 and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb's best career game. Dalton Schultz goes 5 for 79. That's a floor game for Schultz. Amari Cooper, 5 for 55. That's a higher floor game for Cooper. Noah Brown, 2 for 47. Cedric Wilson, 4 for 42. And then Blake Jarwin catches 1 for a 1-yard score. So really fun output there from the Cowboys. I believe this was the most yards an offense has ever gotten against Bill Belichick coach teams. So really, really impressive stuff here. And the Patriots played like the best game that they could possibly play against a high-octane offense. They ran the ball when they needed to and only passed when they had to. So pretty fun game here. This one went into overtime. CeeDee Lamb with the walk-off TD. We'll move on to the Rams and the Giants. This one was a frustrating game from the beginning. I apologize if I recommended getting Kadarius Toney in your lineups. I started him where I had him. He was off to such a great start. But we'll get to that in a second. For the Rams, they come in here. Robert Woods gets 88% of the snaps. Matt Stafford only played 85% of the snaps in this one. Cooper Kupp gets 83%. Darrell Henderson taking over. He's a top 10, top 12 running back right now. 82% of the snaps for him. Nothing else is really trustworthy for these guys. I guess I missed Tyler Higbee up here at 100% of the snaps. And you see Van Jefferson, 64%, Deshaun Jackson, 24%, Sony Michel, only 18%, just kind of afterthoughts at the moment right now. For the Giants, Daniel Jones played the entire game, which was interesting. But Sterling Shepard leads the way at 91%. He's back. He's a wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues. Evan Ingram, tons of snaps, not a lot of production, 73% of the snaps here. Devontae Booker, 72%. I guess if you paid for him in the waiver wire, you got, 9-10 points out of him. That's fine. Dante Pettis stepped up with the injuries to the receivers at 61%. Colin Johnson played 57%. Kyle Rudolph, backup tight end, 45%. There's John Ross at 43%. Caden Smith, 21%, backup tight end here. And then Elijah Penny got some run at the end of the game as a 20%er. And Kadarius Toney, only 6 snaps, but he went 3 for 36 as a receiver before exiting the game with that ankle injury. So let's look at the numbers here. I'll start with the Giants. Daniel Jones, 29 of 42. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, lost a fumble, only 4 yards rushing, just a complete mess from the start. Devontae Booker somehow scraps together 12 carries for 41 yards, catches 4 for 28 as a receiver. So decent enough floor here. What is that, like roughly 9.9 PPR points? He'll take it. Elijah Penny gets the rushing touchdown. That was pretty frustrating, though. Sterling Shepard, 14 targets, 10 for 76. So he's back as a wide receiver 3 flex. Dante Pettis goes 5 for 48. Kadarius Toney, 3 for 36. We'll pray for him and see if he can get back on the field in week 7. Evan Ingram, Daniel Jones throws the ball 51 times and he only gets 5 targets, 3 for 24. We can probably shut him down. Colin Johnson, Kyle Rudolph, John Ross, no thank you. For the Rams, super efficient day for the Rams, 22 of 28 for Matthew Stafford, 251, 4 touchdowns, 1 INT, 12 yards rushing here. Darrell Henderson leads the way, 21 carries for 78 yards, a touchdown, 2 for 29, and another touchdown as a receiver. Sony Michel got mop-up duty in the fourth quarter, 9 for 42. Cooper Kupp dominated the day with the targets, 12 total targets, 9 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. So Cooper Kupp's back as the number 1 overall wide receiver. Tyler Higbee, this is a floor game, 5 for 36 as a receiver. Robert Woods, 2 for 31 and a touchdown. Okay, so another, Bob Woods double-digit floor game here. Van Jefferson, 3 for 19, whatever. Deshaun Jackson, 1 for 6. We shouldn't be trusting these guys. So the Rams continue to look like a boss of a Giants here in the NFC. They're going to get Houston, and I can't remember. They're going to get, I think it's Detroit and Houston the next 2 weeks, if that's correct. I know it's Detroit next week, but really favorable schedule for the Rams coming up. We'll see if the Giants can get things turned around here, hopefully get healthier at the receiver position. Steelers at the Seahawks. I'm going to take a deep breath here. We've been just going a mile a minute. Steelers win this in overtime. 23-20. We'll look at the Seahawks first. Tyler Lockett goes for 89% of the snaps. Freddie Swain, 78%. Interesting. DK Metcalf, 75%. Will Dissly leads the way at tight ends with 72% of the snaps. Alex Collins, I know he got hurt in this one with a hip injury, 60% of the snaps here. Gerald Everett, his first game back after the COVID, missing the last game or two here. He gets 48%. DJ Dallas, 34% of the snaps here. And then you have Penny Hart, Philip Dorsett, Travis Homer, whatever. But the main takeaways from this one, Freddie Swain, man, getting more snaps than DK Metcalf. This is the guy. I know it's Geno Smith right now, but when Russell Wilson comes back, Freddie Swain, man, if he continues to run upwards of 80% of the snaps, there might be something there. And then the Dissly, Gerald Everett split is interesting. We'll see if that flip-flops next week as Gerald Everett was just getting his feet back. And then DJ Dallas played a lot as the number 2 back here. For the Steelers, Deontay Johnson, 92%, Chase Claypool, 84%, Najee Harris, 84%. That's the 3 guys. Like, that's the offense. That's really all we want to know. For fantasy football, Ray McLeod was the wide receiver 3 here at 69%. Pat Freiermuth here at 60% of the snaps. He actually had a good day. We'll look at his numbers in a second. Eric Ebron scored a touchdown, only 45% of the snaps. And then James Washington, only 11%. I know he was just getting back from an injury, but maybe that will change soon. So let's just look at the numbers real quick. Ben Roethlisberger, 29 of 40, 229 yards and a touchdown here. Lost a fumble in this one. Barely usable. He's barely useful as a quarterback too for Superflex leagues. We shouldn't really be trusting him at all. This game was all about Najee Harris. 24 rushing attempts for a low 81 yards, but 7 targets, 6 for 46 as a receiver, and the receiving touchdown here. So just Najee's a top 5 running back right now as a rookie with all this volume and the receiving work. So I love Najee Harris. Deontay Johnson got a carry for 25 yards, also dominated the targets with 13 total targets, 9 for 71 as a receiver. Kalen Ballage got some run there. Eric Ebron gets a 1-yard rushing touchdown and 2 for 10 as a receiver. Pat Freiermuth here, 7 targets, 7 for 58 as a receiver. Something to monitor here. He might be a guy I put on the waiver wire show. Ray McLeod, 2 for 18. Chase Claypool, 2 for 17 on only 7 targets. So my apologies on the Chase Claypool dud here. But going forward, this offense remains Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, and then Claypool. Like Claypool, now we're going to be questioning ourselves about Chase Claypool as Ben can't really connect on the deep ball. For the Seahawks, Geno Smith, he played decently. He lost the fumble at the end, but he kept them in this game. 23 of 32, 209 yards, 1 touchdown. Alex Collins looked really good, 20 carries and 101 yards and a touchdown here, 1 for -3 as a receiver. Travis Homer looked decent, 2 for 27 and 1 for 27 as a receiver here. And then DJ Dallas actually got the most work as the RB2 here, 4 for 17 as a rusher, and he catches all 5 of his targets for 33 yards. So if Collins can't play going forward, maybe DJ Dallas belongs on the waiver wire sheet. DK Metcalf, 7 targets, 6 for 58 to lead the team in receiving. Gerald Everett, 2 for 40 on 3 targets. Tyler Lockett, a dud, 2 for 35 on 7 targets. Penny Hart, 1 for 12. Will Dissly, 2 for 8 in the score here. Philip Dorsett, 1 for 3, and Freddie Swain, only 2 for -4. So life is tough with life, without Russell Wilson here. We'll see if Alex Collins can play. We know Chris Carson's on IR for the next 3 games, so we'll try to figure out what's going on with the Seahawks running backs. But continue to use DK Metcalf. I get it if you want to bench Tyler Lockett. I just don't know if you want to miss that. He still had elite usage here at leading the team in targets with DK Metcalf, so maybe that bounces back next week, and then we got to monitor those tight ends. So we're down to our final 2 games here, the Chargers and the Ravens. Let me just take a swig here before I get into the Chargers. This was a frustrating game here for the LA Chargers. As far as snap counts go, Keenan Allen led the way at 91%. Jalen Guyton, 71%. Jared Cook, 64%. Austin Eckler, 61%. Josh Palmer, 52%. Donald Parham gets 46%. Mike Williams was dinged up in and out of the lineup. Only 20 total snaps, 36% for, the wide receiver 4 on the day. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson didn't have to play the full game. Patrick Ricard actually led the way in snaps here at 80%. He's the fullback. Marquise Brown, though, 74%. Rashad Bateman, 65% in his debut. Mark Andrews, a low number, but 54% will take it. Devin Duvernay, 49%. Latavius Murray got hurt, left early, 38%. Le'Veon Bell, 32%. Devonta Freeman, 30%. So starting to see these running backs, these veteran running backs get more and more involved. Of course, Latavius Murray gets hurt. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson goes 19 of 27, only 167 yards passing and a score here, 51 yards on the ground. Devonta Freeman led the team in rushing, 9 for 53 and a touchdown. Latavius Murray, 9 for 44 and a touchdown, 2 for 12 as a receiver. Again, we have to watch the reports and see if he's going to practice this week. Le'Veon Bell comes in there, gets 8 for 18 and a touchdown. I'm not saying to go pick up Le'Veon Bell, but I would rather have Devonta Freeman over Le'Veon Bell at the moment. Devin Duvernay, 2 for 15, gets an 11-yard carry. Tyler Huntley comes in and does some things as the backup QB. Leading receiver on the day, Mark Andrews, 5 for 68 and a score. Floor game from Marquise Brown, 4 for 35. That's okay. Rashad Bateman, 4 for 29 with Sammy Watkins out. Boykin, Oliver, James Proche, not really interested here. So the Ravens continue to remain a frustrating fantasy offense. You're going to continue to start Lamar. You're going to continue to start Mark Andrews and I think Marquise Brown. But after that, it's hard to trust a running back. It's hard to trust another receiver not named Marquise. For the Chargers, rough day. Just overall, just a rough day all around. Justin Herbert comes in, goes 22 of 39, 195 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, 12 yards rushing. Austin Eckler, 6 for 7 yards on the ground, 4 for 48 as a receiver. Josh Kelly, 4 for 7, no targets here. But Keenan Allen led the day, 5 targets, 5 for 50. Mike Williams, 5 targets, 2 for 27. Jared Cook led the team in targets, 7 total targets, 4 for 25, and he gets the touchdown. But Jalen Guyton, 1 for 15. Donald Parham, 2 for 10. Josh Palmer, 1 for 8. Just a bunch of nothing here. So frustrating day. The Chargers head into their bye week. Hopefully they all heal up and things look better for them in week 8. The Ravens continue to win, man. Ravens go to 5-1. Chargers fall to 4-2. And our final game of the week 6 slate. We got a Monday Night Football game coming up too, so I'm excited about that. But we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Football Team. The Chiefs, slow going at the beginning of the game. They're actually losing going into halftime, and they blew them out in the second half. 31-13 is your final. Let's look at the snap counts. You got Travis Kelce leading the way, 82%. Darrell Williams, just a locked and loaded running back 1 this week, 72% of the snaps here. Demarcus Robinson, 70%. Mecole Hardman, 60%. A lighter day for Tyreek Hill, 57% of the snaps. Just being careful with him. Noah Gray, backup tight end, 46%. There's Byron Pringle, 39%. Jerick McKinnon, 28%. Josh Gordon, only 13%. So on a day where Tyreek Hill is dinged up, you still don't even see Josh Gordon get anything. So I think it's probably not worth holding on to Gordon at the moment. For the Washington Football Team, Ricky Seals-Jones, 100%. He's basically just stepped right into Logan Thomas's workload. So I like that. As long as Thomas is out, Ricky Seals-Jones remains a tight end 1 option. Terry McLaurin, 95%. Diami Brown, the wide receiver 2 here, 80%. Huge day for J.D. McKissic, 61% of the snaps. Adam Humphries, 53%. Antonio Gibson, we'll get into him in a second, only 39% of the snaps. And then really not Jared Patterson, 3%. We'll talk about him in a sec too. As Antonio Gibson had an MRI today on his shin. I haven't heard anything yet. We'll talk about him tomorrow night on the waiver wire. But Gibson goes 10 for 44 as a rusher, 2 catches, no yards as a receiver. He also lost a fumble. He was in and out of the lineup. I don't even think he played in the 4th quarter. So we're watching his injury reports this week. It was all J.D. McKissic in this one. 8 for 45 as a rusher, 8 for 65 as a receiver. Taylor Heineke struggled, 24 for 39. $182 and a touchdown and interception here. No rushing yards to see. Jarrett Patterson, 1 for 5 as a rusher, 1 for -2 as a receiver. Ricky Seals-Jones was the player of the passing game here. If it wasn't McKissic, it was Ricky Seals-Jones, 4 for 58 and a touchdown. Diami Brown, 3 for 30. Rough day for Terry McLaurin, 8 targets, only 4 for 28. Nothing else to be trusted here. The football team heads to Green Bay this weekend. It's frustrating that it feels like Washington is falling apart before our eyes here. So hopefully Gibson can go. We'll watch those reports. Otherwise, Jared Patterson can be the guy you want. And then we'll see if Logan Thomas is ready to return from IR. Patrick Mahomes, 32 of 47, 397 and 2 TDs, 2 INTs. 31 yards on the ground here. Darrell Williams racks up 21 carries, 62 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 for 27 as a receiver. Jerick McKinnon, only 3 for 10 on the ground, 4 targets, 1 catch for 5 yards. So nothing out of McKinnon. Mecole Hardman had himself a good day. 5 targets, 4 for 62. He did lose a fumble, but again, he's looking more improved as a receiving weapon. Travis Kelce, just a typical Kelce game. 11 targets, 8 for 99. Tyreek Hill. Again, his usage was limited, but he still gets 12 targets, 9 for 76, and a score here. Byron Pringle, 3 for 55. Demarcus Robinson, 3 for 46, and a touchdown. Jody Fortson before hurting his Achilles, 1 for 27. So it's the Washington defense. This remains as the worst secondary, worst passing defense in the league here. So Mahomes exploited it. So continue to do that in your lineups. Washington gets Green Bay next week. And I don't know. That concludes the week 6 snap count box score look into. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, I record these videos every Monday evening, and then I upload that. And then Tuesday night we do the waiver wire show, 7 p.m. Central. Come hang out with us and answer or get your questions answered. Wednesday night, that's a fantasy basketball night for me. But Thursday night, I will get into the first round of start sit questions. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. Have a good rest of your morning, day, whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Peace.